There's a lot of social issues that happen, from one president to another. Uh, but as time goes on, those fade away and the numbers stick out, right? The numbers definitely stick out. So let's discuss some numbers here. We're going to talk about debt versus GDP. That's a main tracker where you can look back 20 years ago and you can say, well, that was a good president or a bad president. There might have been a lot of other stuff that happened during those 4 or 8 years, but debt versus GDP. And what does that mean? Okay. When we talk about debt, it's just like your household. We all know right now the national debt is 36 trillion and the GDP is 30 trillion. That means we have more debt than gross domestic product over a year period. That would be like you making 30 grand a year, base number, and you have about 40 grand in debt. That's not a good situation. Now, what we'll also talk about is if you have 40 grand in debt, same number, debt. But instead of making 30 grand a year, you're making 300 grand a year and you got 40% debt. That's not a big deal. That's like 15% roughly, give or take, 13, 14% uh, of your debt compared to what you're earning each year, right? So that's the basic understanding of debt versus GDP. The debt is a number. Presidents are always going to be behind the scenes worried about getting this GDP up. And right now it's 30 trillion, but our debt is 36 trillion. Our debt is 120% of our GDP right now. That when you get over 100%, that's when you're in a bad territory. Now, what we need to understand about debt is that debt is always going to go up. All right. And I know people are going to have a problem with that because we are also looking at it from our own household. No, we can take down the debt. But the fact is that debt's always going to go up. Once you start lending money, you lend someone 100 grand, or not even lend. The government creates 100 grand. Let's just say base number, the interest they're going to pay back is 50 grand. So they're going to pay back 150 on that 100 grand that they borrowed. Where's that 50 grand come from? It didn't exist. From day one, it didn't exist. So you have to borrow more money on top of the 100 to pay off that 50 grand interest. Okay. So that just leads to perpetual borrow. So when people say we need to bring down the debt, I don't even take them seriously. And the problem is everybody's saying that. And I listen to people that say that, so I shouldn't say I don't take them serious. But when they get into the economics and the numbers and the debt, and they say we got to bring down the debt, forget it. Get closer to balancing the budget, I'm with you. Bring down the debt, you sound crazy. You got to get the GDP up. So that's the basic outline of what we're going to get into. And here is the numbers. It's real simple. So the overall graph, what you're looking at here, is like basically 1970 to the left. You see the blue line really low, all the way to 2025 right now. It doesn't take a genius in math class to see that thing is going up from left to right. So if you're an algebra student right now, it's a positive slope. Okay, it's a positive slope. It's negative. It's not good, but it's a positive slope. So you're looking at in like let's just say 1970 roughly. It's under 40%. It's closer to like 30%, and then the thing goes all the way up to right now 120%. So that's where it's gone over the last 50 years. 30% versus 120% means it's out of control. All right, that means it's out of control. But it's not the end of the world either. All right. So you have to understand what these presidents are trying to do. These presidents are trying to get GDP up. So right now, if we owe 36 trillion, let's just say Trump, for example, in the present can get the GDP up to 36 trillion, then we're back from 120 to 100%. The debt is not coming down, ladies and gentlemen. You have got to continue boosting the economy at all costs. This is why you see the tariffs. This is why you see low taxes. This is why you see Trump wanting the Fed to lower the interest rates. Like, you need money in the economy. Of course, there's always the fear of the inflation, but you got to get this economy booming. So Trump is always acting on that. All right. Will he be successful or not? We don't know. We just don't know yet. All right. But that's why he's trying to get the economy going. Now, let's go back We're going to start at 1980 because from like 60 to 1960 to 1980, it kind of leveled off. It was under 40%. It was looking not bad. And then you see here Ronald Reagan uh, just took this thing up quite a ways. Okay. He took this thing up quite a ways. So you're looking at, yeah, I mean, he took this thing all the way up, what, near 50 roughly? From around 30 something percent to 50. Okay. So that started it. So we look at Ronald Reagan, and I'm a conservative mostly, liberal on social issues a lot of times, but conservative fiscally, financially, budget, debt, all that stuff as much as I can be. But I have to be realistic. Those conservatives like myself look back and we're like, Reagan, great president. You know what I mean? But when you look at the numbers, that debt went from 30 to 50%. Not good. That means the debt outpaced the economy. That's not good. Okay. And this is what conservatives should be saying as well. Then when you go to Clinton, listen, I hate to say it. I hate to say it. I've been telling people in my inner circle around me that are conservatives and liberals, I'm like, listen, as much as I preach, when you look at the numbers, it's not good for conservatives. Look at Clinton. Clinton didn't erase it all. It went up a little bit there at first, right? But he nearly erased all the negative debt to GDP that Reagan had. He brought it back down. I mean, and you're not going to see this again, okay? Well, you will when you get to Biden. But this thing went down. Probably one of the better presidents according to debt versus GDP, which should be a major outlier, a major talking point, and what we should be focused on, was one of the better presidents over the last 5 or 6. There's just no other way about it. Now, there were all the issues and things like that, but listen, at the end of the day, the numbers are what matter. And where are we at right now, right? What's real life in terms of numbers? Numbers are real life. There's no way to go around them. All right, you're going to hear me say that a lot of times. And it doesn't mean I don't care about the other issues. I'm just trying to get back to the basics, okay? Clinton brought this percentage down, bottom line. Then we get into trouble here with Bush Jr., and then next up, you're going to see Obama, right? So from Bush Jr. to Obama, this thing went from around 50 something percent all the way up to right at 100%, right around there. It's not good, okay? So both in the same boat. Bush wasn't doing bad, okay? It wasn't doing bad, but the slope is consistently going up, okay? It's going up by 5, 6, 7%. That's manageable, all right? But the debt is still outpacing the economy. And then at the end, boom, that's not good, okay? In comes Obama, and he just continues the same pace as Bush at the end. So when you look at the numbers, it's hard for me to say, just based on the numbers, forget all the other stuff for a second. I know that's hard. Trust me. But Obama and Bush Jr. brought this thing way up, all right? Then in comes Trump around, of course, he won the 2016 election. This is of 2017. You can see not a bad job, right? So when he talks about how the economy was going and we were booming and things like that, he's not really lying, all right? Now, you can say, yeah, that Trump increased the debt like crazy in his first term, but he also increased the economy like crazy. That's why it's flat, okay? And then what happened to the right there when it skyrocketed? COVID happened, okay? But again, that's in our recent memory. When you look back at Reagan and say there was a COVID situation during Reagan or whatever his was, that's going to be minimized compared to the numbers. So at the end of the day, even though Trump started out good, the COVID thing, people are going to not necessarily forget about that. How could you? But it just means that from beginning to end, the debt outpaced the economy, more or less, at the end of the day, from beginning to end. All right. Then Biden benefits from opening the economy back up, right? So that all of a sudden the debt's not, see, when you see this thing go down, the debt is not going down. Biden's getting the economy going, all right? And he would say, and again, again, I hate to say this, okay, but I was as surprised as some of you may be when I looked at this. The debt didn't come down like this chart is going down for the first 2 years. the economy was booming because all of a sudden when you shut down an economy, you open it back up, the thing come roaring to life. People want to buy, people want to spend, people want to sell. Okay, so everything is going crazy, and then by the end it goes back up. But at the end of the day, from left to right, it still went down during the presidency, and he benefited off of the end of COVID. That's the bottom line. He benefited off the end of COVID because a lot of those checks, the debt that was, I don't want to say given out, the debt that was added to help people out when the economy was closed, that destroyed the debt to GDP. But sometimes you have to do that to make it through. I don't know, but that's the way it would appear. The bottom line is here, Biden brought the debt versus GDP down, and that's where we are right now. All right. So Clinton and Biden, regardless of, oh, well, when, he did it because COVID ended and it opened back up, and Trump, it was dealt with COVID. And of course, all that is at play. Okay. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is Biden and Clinton are the two that brought it down. All right. So now what does Trump have to do? Let's just say it's 36 trillion right now. It's going to be 45 or 46 before he leaves. And then you're going to hear people say, oh, he increased the debt by 10 trillion, 20 trillion, whatever. You got to focus on percentage. I mean, if you go from 2 trillion to 4 trillion, it's no different than going from 36 trillion to 72 trillion. The numbers are just getting bigger, which is really scary, but that's just what's happening. Okay. But you can manage the numbers getting bigger. If Trump just, rough number, takes it from 36 to 45 by the end, which it'll probably be more, but let's just say 45, he's got to get that economy closer, that GDP closer to 42, 43, and hopefully 45. Because then at the end, it's going to look like, okay, he got us back into a fair playing field. 120% GDP coming in, 100% coming out, and now you hand it off to whoever's next, and you hope that it continues in that direction. Okay, but also just going back to the chart for 1 second. All right, going back to Clinton, right? Clinton was doing a heck of a job, and then there was a huge election in 2000. What happened? The country was completely divided. Did we go the right way with Bush Jr.? Because according to debt to GDP, I don't know. But that so that's why that election, if you're a little older, 40s, 50s, you definitely remember that because you're in your 20s when it happened. And that 2000 election was crazy when it went to the Supreme Court. There was all this stuff going on. It came down to hundreds of thousands of votes in Florida, and Florida was the main state, and that's where I was from. It's just crazy. But that's why that election was so highly contested. That's debt to GDP by a president. No favorites, none of that. Those are just the numbers, and that's the way it is.